Good morning. Right then, this is the next project, but this first video is only a short one and it's to go through some of the processes we'll be using, reference photos, how I've picked the colours, the paper, and sort of techniques that we can be using while we're doing this project. So as you can see in front of me, I've got my iPad, and here we have got an image of a beautiful sacred lotus flower. So I've picked this one because it's got several different techniques we're going to be using. We've got the wet and wet. We've also got, if we zoom right in, if you see the veins here, they're not perfect straight. We don't want them really straight lined. We want a little bit of feathering in there. So that's done on what we call wet on damp. So in other words, when the paper is starting to dry out, we can apply some colour, usually a bit darker, so it's a little bit thicker consistency. We can put it in and it doesn't spread as far, but you still get that little feathered edge. We'll be using wet in wet for the petals mostly. And then we've got all this greenery behind us. So this leaf's quite detailed, and so is this one. The rest of them are sort of blurred in the background, but we've got these really nice greens. So we're going to be putting a background on it as well. So it's a fairly simple flower, nice composition. We've got, instead of a straight stem, we've got a nice curvature stem there, again in different greens. Now, when we look around it, we're looking for yellows. So we've got like a cool yellow and a warm yellow there in the center. We've got some very nice pinks, some warmish pinks and reds. Oh, excuse me. Um, and then round this side of the flower, it is a little bit more red. We have got more red in there. And then when it comes to the greens, we've got some very vibrant sort of the natural greens, but quite vibrant. We've got some yellowy greens. We've got like a sap green there. So when I was picking this and having a looking at it, I've chosen my Sanilia, which is the paints that I use mainly for botanical. So the reference is from unsplash.com. They're like Pixabay, there's Pixabay as well. So if you're looking for images that are not licensed, not copyrighted, so you can use them and sell your work, then Unsplash do some really beautiful quality pictures, and so do Pixabay. So this one is one by Jimmy Chang, and it's from unsplash.com. Okay, I think it was taken about 2016, 17. So it's one of the early ones on there. So I did look through quite a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of flowers there, but I have also got a lot of my own images now to start using. But for this project, because it's a watercolor and it's mainly for beginners, I thought I'd find something a little bit simpler, but with petals. Okay, so we're doing some background work, we're doing wet in wet, and we're doing the veining as well. Okay, so that's the image. The paper we're going to be using is I'm using Archer's 300 GSM. And what I've done is I've stretched it here on a board. So it's already been stretched. Oops, I've got that upside down. That was, I have to put it the right way around. Whoops. Sorry about that. So you're not going to see a lot of it anyway on here. It's a big board. So this is the tape. So it's been stretched. And then what I've done, because we're doing a full background on it, I've just put a small margin of washi tape, which will leave us with, when we take it off the board, a nice clear background. The image has been sketched on with a HB pencil. Now for me it's quite dark, but you're probably looking at it and think you can hardly see it. But I have put on a bit darker so you can see it. But as we're painting each sort of section, I will remove as much of the pencil as I can before we put the watercolor on, because once you put watercolor on, then over graphite, then it will make marks. So now we're coming to the colors. So I've got my swatches book here. This is my go-to So in this one, I've got my Sanilia here in the front. So as you can see there, I've got lots of, let's have a look, see if I can zoom back out a little bit. Right, so let's have a look. So let's zoom back out a little bit there. Just pull it down there so you can see we've got there, and then I've got a few on this side of the page as well. So what I try and do when I'm doing a painting, I look at the colours I've got. Now in the Sinilia range, I'm quite limited. I haven't got that much of them, but I've got 24. But what I tend to do is I have a cool and a warm of each of the primary colour. So I've got the lemon yellow and a yellow deep. There doesn't seem to be, if you look at the picture, sort of oranges in it. So that's why I've gone for those two colours. And then in the red, have you gone for the well, there's the bright red. But I've gone actually with the Sanilia red instead. I thought that one because it's more it's transparent, so I can add other colours to it. And then for the cool red, I've gone for the Rose Madeleine because it's got some nice pink tones in there. The blues, I've gone for the French Ultramarine and the Thalassalian blue, which is like a phthalo blue. So I've swatched them out on here. Okay. Then I've also got another pink, which I have got, which is actually a Winsor and Newton one, which is the Upper Rose. So if you look at the image here, we do have some quite bright pinks in there. So the Upper Rose, if you can see there, it does tie up quite nicely with that. So I have got the Winsor and Newton Upper Rose as well. Now for the greens, my greens are made up. I haven't got any shop but in the Sanilia anyway. I do in the Winsor and Newton sometimes, but when I'm using Sanilia, I like to mix them up. So these are the sort of greens with other slight adjustments. If you look in there, that you will see we've got the yellowy green there. That one will be a watered down version of that with a bit more blue in it. And then we've got a bit more of a neutral green there, sap green. So I have got, I mean, the one that I've just done two quick samples there, which is the yellow deep, which is a warm yellow with a cool blue. And they tend to give you what I call natural greens. So what we've got there is the yellow deep and the Thalassinian blue. And then that one's the same, but it's got more blue in it. Um, I may use a little bit of cobalt blue. I don't know. I mean, I've also got the lemon yellow, so I can actually make that a bit brighter if I want to. But they're the colours, so I will give you a list. So we've got two yellows, two reds, two blues. Also, I will probably use the dioxide purple because I like to use that when I'm doing shadow areas. And then we've got the Opera Rose from the Winsor& Newton version. And then the greens are made up from the colours that we've already got there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Opera Rose, that's 7. So yeah, I've got 7 colours basically. And as I say, oh, the dioxide purple, so that's 8 colours that we will be using and just mixing. So they're the colours. What I will do, obviously, you will get a list of the materials, the paint colours. Now, paper and brushes is entirely up to you. I've got the cold press through the GSM and I've stretched it, and I do like it actually for botanics. I didn't think I would. I thought hot press would work better for me, but when it comes to watercolors, I prefer the cold press paper. So that's what I'm using. But if you use whatever paper you like to use and that you're used to using, then that's the one to go with. I do recommend that you use 100% cotton. Because then when you're doing wet and wet, it doesn't cockle. When it's stretched, it shouldn't cockle or buckle anyway, but as I say, that's an extra precaution. Brushes, I'm going to be ranging from the long, well, the sort of the round brushes, but with a slightly longer, I've just put them away at the minute, longer point. I tend to use like the Billy Shoal ones or the Rosemary and Co. and I use from six. I use 642 mainly. Number one for detail. I have a flat mixing brush, and then I also have an eradicator brush, which helps to either take lines out for fine veins, or it can help if you overstep a line with a colour, and then you can fetch it back in. And it can also sometimes, if you end up with a sharp outline on the edge of the colour and you want it to look a little bit more smooth, you don't want that sort of, it looks like it's been drawn around with a pen, then the eradicator can help you there. So I will be explaining these tools as we use them. So I'll put all that in a list. You want some kitchen roll, and I also use two water tubs. I have one for washing the brushes out when it's got paint on them, so the mucky water I call it, and then the other one's a clear one, because obviously I like to keep, especially yellows, I like to keep them looking as fresh as possible. And you don't want to get them cross-contaminated with other colours. So having two water pots is ideal for that solution. I think that's about it. Oh, I have a malleable eraser and a plastic eraser just to help erase the pencil as we're going along. So all that will be put into with along with this first video, so you'll have a materials list. Now the paints, again, you don't have to use the same paints as me. You can use whichever paints you want, and mess about with mixing, which I'll show you how to do when we start on the actual painting. So paints, you can use whichever paint you want. I mean, I use mainly Winsor & Newton Professional, or I use the Senilia watercolor. um I have got one or two other watercolors ranges in there, but they're my two favorite. And when it comes to flowers, Similia always seem to come out on top. So that's that for this video. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the first video when we start actually painting. So there we go, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.